Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. I think this is the last presentation for today. I'm Martin Elek from Hortonworks, and I'm working in a specific team at Hortonworks, which has the wonderful name Sustaining Team. And the main responsibility of this team is supporting the maintenance release. So in this presentation, I would like to speak about the releasing process or the maintenance releases. So first of all, I need to clarify what are the maintenance releases, and after that we can talk about why I think that these are extremely important parts of the ecosystem. As you probably know, there are, I'm almost sure that you know, that we have fixed mainline releases. Usually these contain the new innovations from the Apache projects, the new versions from the Apache project, and usually or sometimes it may contain even new components. And there are minor releases which usually just contain fixes. This is, for example, 2.5.3. And it's not very well known, but we have even minor releases on top of the maintenance releases, but they are usually just contain a few fixes for specific problems. Well, so these are the releases, and why I think the maintenance release is, it seems to be a quite particular problem. It seems to be easy. We need to bump the latest version from 2.5.2 to 2.5.3, for example. But I think it's a much bigger challenge, and it's much important. For example, because I think most of the customers are using minor releases. So I think when we release 2.5.0, first, nobody will upgrade it to the 0 release. Yeah, but that's just a note, because the maintenance releases and the mainline releases, I think they are two sides of the same coin. So we need the mainline release because maintenance release is based on the mainline release. But it's very similar to when you buy a new car. You can find a new car with a very new engine, with self-driving autopilot method, but without a good brake or without good lights, I think you would be very disappointed. So what we are doing, we are doing the good brakes actually for the maintenance releases, and I think it's very important because we need. Usually it's not just a simple task to upgrade or contain a few fixes on the maintenance line. Okay, let's check again this picture as well. So I think the most important figure in this picture is the arrow between the Apache project components and the HDP component. So I think it's very important. It's not a transformation. I prefer to think about this as a brewing process. So for the brewing process, usually we need good qualified source materials. So and these are the Apache projects. Without good quality Apache projects, we can't brew very well product. And this is the reason why we have a rule, Apache first. So everything that we are fixing will be fixed first at the Apache project, and after that will be merged back to our branches. But for brewing, it's not enough to use good quality materials, but we need good recipes, or we need some kind of craftsmanship to create the platform. So I think it's very important so that it's not just a very important task to create the releases from the Apache side, but it's a very exciting and challenging part. And in this presentation, I would like to show to you a few key challenges about this releasing. Okay, the brewing part usually starts with selecting the right patches. I think this is the biggest difference between this releasing part and other random software development. Because here, all the new developments are on the Apache side, so we need to select the good patches. Yeah, and usually we are building, we are testing somehow, we will see it later, documenting, scanning, and we will have the release. So let's have a deeper look about these steps. The first, the select or scoping. So it seems to be easy. We need just the right patches to the right release. Everything based on the Apache project, so the patches are there. Yeah, but there are a lot of things which should be considered. For example, the releasing strategies of each project. If there were a recent Apache releases for selected projects, then we can use them. If there was no recent release, then we need to handle it somehow. Another thing is the adoption level of the project. I think you can imagine that typically the HDFS is very widely used. So it's much more trickier to include a newer version from the HDFS or Hadoop. But if another project, for example, Spark, in the prototyping phase, usually the customers need the latest version because it's just in prototyping phase, it's very easy to upgrade the latest version. Okay, just another example. These are the Hadoop releases from the last 2.5 years. You can see that the 2.6 has been released somewhere at the end of the 2015. We had a lot of small fix releases, but after that, there was no release for almost 1 year. The 2.6.5 has been released at the end of the 2016. And yeah, we have this. The problem is that what about if we would like to release something between the 2.6.4 and 2.6.5? So there are a lot of changes on the branch, actually, but there is no stabilized release from the Apache side. So in that case, we need to select the required patches, and we should include only the patches which guarantee the stability and the security. Yeah, and if we can check also the Hive, it's even worse. You can see that the Hive 1 branch, there was no release between the middle of the 2015 and 2000, so it's almost 2 years without release. But there were a lot of changes between this date. Yeah, and Spark, it's the other side. Spark has very frequent releases, so it could be another problem because even after 2 big releases, it's very usual that the 1.6, for example, can't get more fixes. So even the Apache developers won't backport the fixes. And here we are. We have the HDP release, and we should include all of them. And actually, not only these 3 components, but more than 20 components. So you can imagine the complexity of the decision. For example, in that case, you can see that some of the releases are included. And yeah, it's not these exact releases, because we need a few additional patches after the fixed releases. So for example, here, if we would like to release something here, we need the 2.7.3 and the patches from here, but not all of the patches, because we should guarantee the stability. Okay, just let's see another example. Every Apache project is different, and not only about the frequency of the releases. So this picture shows the number of Jira issues created at the Apache Jira per month. So it's from 2000, yeah, it's 5 years or more than one. Do you have any guess what is the blue one? So this is the project which which had a lot of newly created Jira issue since 2014. Yeah, Spark. And what is the orange one? This one? Where is this one? So before Spark, it was quite popular. Map reuse. Yeah, that's the map reuse. So this is the solution. It's unfortunately it's a little bit too small. But you can imagine that it's totally different to support the Spark or the map reuse, for example. With Spark, if I need just one specific bug fix, it's very usual that it depends on another refactor, for example. So because there are a huge number of commits, it's much harder to select the required commits. Okay, let's go forward. That was just a few examples about the challenges on the selection side. And yeah, the question could be that what is the solution? Yeah, we have no clear solution. Yeah, there is no silver bullet. Every project and every commit should be checked one by one, but there are a few rules. And I mentioned that our number one rule is Apache first. So we are fixing everything first on the Apache side. And it's not just because we believe in open source, but it's much more effective to handle the bug fixes and backporting on the Apache side, because we have a lot of commits, a lot of branches, and all of them should be synchronized. Yeah, and the other one, it's my personal opinion, then it could be handled much more easier if we are part of the community. So it's much more harder to check from outside what we need. So we should be part of the community and discuss about the community members that what's the exact state of the project, what we need for the older branches. Okay, let's go forward. The next part is the build. It seems to be just a simple arrow to move to the testing, but it also could have a lot of challenges. Yeah, this is just a generated picture. Actually, our build system generates this kind of information, and it shows the dependency between the components of our HDP stack. Yeah, and you can imagine that it's not only a lot of components, but there are strict dependencies between them. I think this is the Hadoop, and for example, we can see that we can't build an HBase part without Hadoop. And it's not just about we can't build, but we should handle the versions. So if we would like to build a specific Hortonworks version from Hadoop, for example, then Nox should depend from this version. So it's also about how can we build it parallel or side by side. Yeah. And the other problem that it's just one exact build, and usually we have a lot of build. I just checked in the morning, and usually in a random time, we had at least 5 versions of the platform, and each had 5 to 10 builds parallel, actively running. So again, there is no, my other favorite part of this picture, this Big Top GSVC project. So the build is so complex that even there is a separated Apache project for building the components together. Okay, what is the solution? The solution is, as usual, just some engineering work. And we have a lot of scripts to do the builds and do the parallel builds, so the release engineering team actively maintaining and developing the tools to handle all of these complexities. Okay, let's go forward. We have the built platform, and we would like to test. Yeah. This is the most typical picture about the testing. So if I would like to check how how should a project be tested, then usually the book suggests do it this way. And this test triangle shows that we need the for every type of unit test, we need the same number of tests, which are proportional for the area of the section. So we need a lot of unit tests, and if we have a lot of unit tests, we need a little bit fewer integration tests and maybe just a few system tests, and the UI test, even it's not so important. At least this is the suggestion. How can we use this approach or the suggested approach? Well, actually, we can't use it at all. Or we can use it just on the project level. So this is the Hadoop project, and yeah, the Hadoop project contains unit test, contains integration test, but we also have other projects, for example, Kafka, and we also have Spark, and we also have Hive, and also HBase. And the big question that how can the projects work together? So it's a very typical problem when we are testing that Spark, it's working very well. Hadoop, it's working very well. All the unit tests are passed. But when we started the whole platform, something is wrong between them. So actually, this picture, the original picture, it's true, but only for one project. And we need additional system test between which handles this problem that we need to test how the projects are working together. So actually, the Apache project usually invests to unit test and integration test, and Hortonworks invests a lot to system test. But let's check first the unit test. Again, it seems to be very easy. Every project, Hadoop, Spark, contain a lot of unit tests, so we need just push the big unit test button and see the results. Yeah, the problem is that every projects are different. And yeah, we have a Jenkins, we run all of the unit tests. And for example, Zeppelin uses Travis, the open source Apache project. So the first step is we need to somehow transform or adopt all of the unit test definition and the unit test matrix definition to Jenkins. Okay, just go forward. This is our most important part, I think. These are the system tests. They are developed by Hortonworks. They are internal, a lot of code to test the components together. So usually, the test starts a small cluster, 5 to 10 nodes, with real HDP stack, with all of the components, and there are test scenarios to test the AG failover, for example. And one of the biggest challenges here that we need to test it on multiple, with different settings. We need to test on all of the certified platform, for example, Ubuntu, CentOS. We need to test it with security or without security, with Kerberos, without Kerberos, with different encryption methods, for example, with different cloud environment settings. And this picture just shows an example report. So usually before the releases, or favorite job or task, just sitting down and generating a lot of this kind of reports. And it's not enough if something is green, because it's probably green just for one operating system. It should be green on all of the operating systems. So we are checking what are the gaps, and we are just testing them again and again and again. Okay. Just another illustration of the complexity. Originally at Hortonworks, there was only one team who take care about the releases. Currently, there are separated teams for the mainline releases and the maintenance releases. And for one team, it shows it's just the used virtual machines for one night. So the picture at the top, it seems to be 3 different system tests. Maybe one for Ubuntu, one for security, and the third one. It's just one night. And I think it's about 500 virtual machine for one system test. And the second picture is the improved version of the system test when we have multiple teams which are parallel working on different releases, different projects. We need some kind of queuing and use the available resources much more wisely. So actually we can just set how many virtual machine could be used for the system test. And yeah, it seems, we can see that it was a very busy night because all of the capacity has been used. So again, it's definitely a space for innovation and engineering work. Okay, let's go forward. It's just other example. Actually, it's a talk about the last DataWorks Summit at Munich. And it's after the system tests are finished, we should check all of the results. And yeah, the problem is that it's not just a complex platform with a lot of components, but it's a lot of system tests with a lot of results, with a lot of system log. And we should somehow filter the real results and find the real problems. And one approach could be to use our tools to eat our dog food to detect or find the real problems. This is an interesting approach for that one. Just collect all the log files and stream them to Spark and other data science tools. Okay, we had unit tests and integration tests from the Apache project, and we have our own system test. What will be the problem? Actually, there will be a problem, and I know what will be the problem. The problem will be the Kerberos. Usually, with the Kerberos, the problem is that the system test usually runs during 5 hours, for example, or 6 hours. But there could be a lot of problem, which is a problem after 12 hours or even 1 day. So we definitely need long-running tests. So we have other clusters. These are a little bit bigger clusters than the system test. And we are running them just all of the time. And usually we are upgrading it once in a month or twice in a month. And yeah, these are the typical problems. For example, the Kerberos token renewals and other token renewals, or the version upgrade. The system test tests only a specific version, but here we can test a more realistic scenario to get one exact version and upgrade, for example, at the end of the month. Okay, we have all of the tests, so we can go forward. It's almost done. What's next? Yeah, we have forward to the release, we have 2 smaller steps, the documentation and some kind of scanning. Again, the documentation seems to be easy, or it could be even easier than, it could be true that it's a little bit easier than the testing, but it's a lot of component, and we selected a lot of commits to our release. So here we also need tooling to generate the release logs, to make reports that what should be updated in the release notes. And finally, we also have a few tools to scan the release artifacts about license violations and security issues. And usually these tools are generating a lot of noise, and it should be checked manually one by one if there are some real violations. And as I mentioned, Apache, we are fixing everything at the Apache side first. Okay, so it's done. The release has been finished, so we have the release. But there is an additional arrow in this picture, and I very like that because it's very similar to an agile project because it's very iterative. So if it's released, then most probably we will get immediate feedback after the customers are upgrading the HDP stack. So we can learn. Hopefully, if it's a good release, then it would be just a few support cases or not related about the selection or the test. But actually, it's a continuous work. So we will improve forward the releases and again learn what should be selected, test again, and release again. Okay. I think that's for all for now. So just a quick summary. I hope that the goal of this presentation was just show what is the way between the Apache projects and the HDP stack. And I think it's very important to see, because when I'm speaking about to an outsider about what I'm doing at work, usually the question, how is it possible to sell something which is actually free and open? And I think this is one of the key area when it could be proved that, yeah, we are working a lot of things and we are inventing newer methods to provide a real secure and stable platform based on the Apache components. Yeah, and I hope that also it's visible that it's a quite exciting and challenging area. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. These are my contacts, so you can contact me, or if you have any question, I would be happy to answer. Yeah?
So there was a recent release of 2.6.0, and then not long after that was 2.6.1.
Yeah.
Would it be safer to wait for 2.6.1?
Well, okay. The question was that there was very few days between 2.6.1 and 2.6.0, and would it be safer to wait? But yeah, I think it depends. What does it mean safer? I think it depends from every commit is different. So it depends what is missing from the mainline release. Ideally, there is an other agile approach to release frequently. So ideally, we would create even much frequent releases, but it could be a business decision, it could be a technical decision, so there are a lot of components of the decision.
I guess I could rephrase the question that I happen to install 2.6.1.
Yeah.
But when 2.6.0 came out, I don't know if it would have been safe for me to do that, or to move forward with that, or wait for the .1, which is the maintenance release of 2.6. So wasn't sure if that was a good decision or not.
So the question was, is it safe to use the .0? Yeah. Actually, we are using exactly the same testing methodology. Everything is the same for the mainline release and the maintenance release. So we are doing the same testing because we have separated team for do it even parallel. So, but yeah, we are continuously using it and testing it. So the probability to find a bug, but I think because we are using the same test, so I think the .0 it's also should be safe, but it really depends from the use case. If it's 1,000 node of clusters, that's.
But in the 0, you have more new features, right? So the probability is there to have potential new bugs that weren't there before.
Usually in the 0 there are new features, and sometimes it's not widely used if it's a new component, for example. But yeah, I think if it's a new component, then it's almost the same if it's 0 or 1. The old components, and especially, for example, Hadoop, where there is no releases recently, or we are using the 2.7 line in the last three, so it should be the same. Yeah.
So would it be a safe assumption that a 3.0 would be more risky than a 2.6.0, correct?
3.0.
Like HTTP 3.0?
Yeah.
That would be a little more risky than 2.6.0.
It's hard to say. So it's because it could be risk, but it's hard to. Yeah, we are doing exactly the same testing, or even if it's a 3.0, then I think it's much more. It's a huge amount of testing. So what we are working on, that every release, even if it's 0 or even if it's 1, it should be stable. So I believe that it should be stable, but it's my feeling. So for example, when the Apache 2.8.0 has been released, there was the Apache version, there was a note that it's not recommended for production. I don't know this kind of notes about this or 2.0 or 0 releases. So when something is released, I believe that it could be used in production. But this is my feeling from the technical point of view. And it's another question about yeah. Yeah?
What about performance tests?
Performances. It's very good question. It's usually these are parts of the long-running tests. So there are usually huge queries or streaming queries. My favorite one, when the streaming query, when we are feeding a stream processing with log files, and the stream components are generating more logs during the test, and we are feeding back. So it's actually just feeding our own log files again and again. So currently, these are what we are doing, and we have a huge amount of monitoring on this long-running test. So here, for the long-running test, we have a lot of historical data, and we can compare them. That if it's running, and yeah, it's not the traditional performance test. Just sit down and now put an additional data. I think it's more realistic. It's just usually all of the time feed with a lot of data. Yeah.
Why taking like commits that are not stable for each component? I guess that for me it makes more sense to just take the release version that is stable and just.
Because there is no release.
You are always there are the last one, right? You are always backporting commits from track. Hadoop in text.
Yeah, but.
So why not keep it stable and go with the last release and if customers require something?
So why we are not using, for example, the quite old 2.7.3? Because
that you have also a set of commits that they are backported from track to.
yeah, the problem is that or it's not a problem actually. Fortunately, a lot of people use Hadoop, and there are problems. But the Apache project is not released after a problem is fixed. So we know that there are problems, and it should be included, and sooner or later it will be included in the Apache side.
You prefer to include that from before customers actually face.
Yeah, actually it's just we are just backport. Yeah, you can use at the HDP the same fix, which will be released at the I don't know, at the end of the summer, for example. Currently, for example, the Hadoop 2.7.4, which is a different plan, and it contains a lot of fixes, but it will be fixed, I don't know when, it's maybe somewhere in the summer. And we know that there are fixes. We know there are problems with the current 2.7.3, and I know that there are the fixes on the Apache side. We would like to just make it available a little bit earlier. Yeah.
Probably draw back to be part of that community as well. If you're not part of Hadoop, you prefer to go with a stable release. Since HCP, you have probably a lot of committers in Hadoop. You are aware of it.
Yeah, actually, this is one of my personal. Yeah, I prefer to get more frequent releases on the Hadoop side because it could help about a lot of people. And this is also an Apache first approach. But this is my just personal goal to improve the releasing tool of the Hadoop to get more frequent releases. Yeah?
Are there predictable release schedules of HDP? Like, do we know when 2.6.2 might be out or when 3.0 might be out? Do we know, are they predictable?
Okay. I'm at a technical level. I'm on the technical side of this question, but I think we have more authenticated answers. Manju?
I'm Manju Rao from Autonomes. We do have a predictable schedule for maintenance releases. Our stated goal is about 6 to 8 weeks of frequency. After a main release goes in 8-week cadence, we typically get what is known as the M release. M stands for maintenance. And we cut typically about 3 such planned maintenance releases, beyond which usually our attention goes to the next bigger release. And so for each of the big releases, we usually do about 3 M releases in a 6 to 8 week cadence. So, and in terms of hot fixes, that's really on an on-demand basis. And Andrew, who runs our program for maintenance, he's here as well. Our hotfix growth has been tremendous in the last, I would say, 12 months. It's a reflection of 2 things. One is the innovation that's happening in Apache, that's one, and also the customer uptake. Both of which are tremendously increasing is what we have seen.
The reason that's important is because we would like to plan for upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
If we knew when a certain major or minor release was coming out, we could plan around that schedule instead of scrambling when an announcement just happens to come out by chance, you know?
Yep. So that's a good feedback. Most of the times we ask our support team to send out announcements ahead of time. If that's not reaching you guys, obviously, we will have to fix that process. But it is our goal to send these release roadmap to all of our customers. What we cannot obviously commit to is hard dates. It really depends on Apache timelines and a ton of other factors.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. For him?
Sorry, I can't hear.
So at the beginning, you said how you make the version number.
Yeah?
So you said it's 4 digits.
Yeah?
But what I see in my company is usually 5 digits.
5 digit.
Yeah.
2.5.3.
And dash is something. So
Yeah, this is a big number. If there is a dash.
uh-huh.
Yeah, the question was that what is the dash something at the end of the version, but I think that would be it's something hundreds, so it's usually a big number, should be a big number.
So it's not a big number, but
It depends on the release. If we had a lot of build, it means that, yeah, we tested it with a lot of different patches.
okay.
So it's just an internal build, I guess. If it's 2.5.1 minus, you can ignore the minus. It's just an internal thing.
Okay, so from the application development, there is no difference with the number and the dash.
Yeah, it's just it's.
Okay, and one other question is, I'm wondering how you deal with the customer's request, like different combination
Yeah.
from your official release. So actually, in my company, we requested the Storm 101, which is the community version,
Yeah.
but the HTTP version was 2.3 or 2.4. So in that case, how you generally deal with it?
With the
Specific request for customers.
yeah. Oh, so different version, I don't know. So you need, for example, an older version from the Hadoop, but a newer version from the Hive and the HDP, right?
Yep, so customer could request something different.
Yeah, but it's other part of this story. This story about the maintenance release, and this is from the customer, and yeah, it's from the I can say about the technical side that if we from technical point of view, every release will we use the same approach, but it's another question that what could be from the business side provided. Okay. Then thank you. We can continue the discussion if you have a question. Thanks.